All right, I'm here with Matt Galat, the person behind the JaYoe Nation. JaYoe is a phrase taken from the Chinese JaYoe, literally meaning to add fuel, which he describes as the best approach to life. Do the best you can and follow your dreams, which he is doing at the moment. Matt is currently on his cycle tour through the world, roughly going from China to America on the seat of a recumbent trike. He already crossed South Korea and at the moment he is in Taiwan. Welcome to the podcast, Matthew Galat. It's great to have you here.
Always good to see you, Tice.
Thanks, man. Thanks. It's great that we've already been talking like for a couple months now. We started talking because I was making a website for you. I was like trying to become a web developer, and I needed to make websites, so that's how we came into contact. Before that, I already know you for like probably a year now. I've been following you through all of your adventures and things that you've been doing already. And it's really, really awesome that you're the first, like, this is a new time for the podcast. Like, I'm trying to interview people, try to learn things from them, and then share that on YouTube so other people can learn from that as well. If you're not subscribed already, Tice. You can also, of course, subscribe to JaYoe Nation. I'll leave a link in the description down below. And let's start with the interview. And the first question that I have for you, Matt, is how did this start? Like, it's very it's a great message that you're trying to convey. But how did you come up with this? How did you come up with this cycle tour and cycling around the world like this?
Well, it's sort of a long story, as most amazing life stories are. You know, they grow over time. I moved to China about 10 years ago because I was having business trouble. I moved to China about 10 years ago, and I was trying to pursue my business interests. I had a trading company. I was designing products and manufacturing them for customers in the States using contacts in China. I found out that it's a difficult business to be sandwiched in between a factory that's always trying to nickel and dime you and a customer that's always trying to nickel and dime you, and you're the guy in the middle, and you've got all the stress from both sides who are
Right.
both working against you. And although I was able to salvage my business and do well for myself for a few years, I dug myself out of an extreme amount of debt while I was in China. I also realized that it's not really something that I want to do for the rest of my life. You know, I met a friend from California. He became like my best buddy, and he kind of showed me that you don't really need money in order to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. I always thought I needed money first, and then with that money, I could buy all the experiences that I want out of life. But my friend was living this very experiential life, and he didn't need any money. He just kind of like winged it all the time. And it made me realize that maybe I could start doing the things without worrying about how I'm going to afford all the things. So I wrote a bucket list, and I wrote 100 items down on a piece of paper, and I'll recommend anybody to do that. You know, it's very easy to come up with 5 things that you want to accomplish in your life. But when you get up to 99, you're really digging at the bottom. You're digging at the bottom of the barrel, and you're finding out really what you want out of life. I mean, the bucket list isn't about like material things. Like I want a boat, I wanted this. It's about I want to do this. I want to accomplish these things. You know, so it's a very experiential list. So I finished this list, and I realized that there was a whole lot that I wanted to do with my life. And if I was going to try and work towards paying for all those things I wanted to do, I'd probably be working until I was too old to do them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
like most people, like they work until they're retired, and then they want to do the things, and then
it's a sad story.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
So I plotted out all the things I wanted to do on the map. Like in Cape Town, I want to swim with great white sharks, and in New Zealand, I want to learn how to wingsuit jump. These were some of the more exciting things. But there was also like I want to help out in a natural disaster. Obviously, that could be anywhere in the world. Hopefully, nowhere. Hopefully, that one goes unfulfilled. But
right.
but to kind of do my part to help humanity there was hundreds of these things all around the world. And so I plotted them all out on a map. I realized that I could create a journey home back from China all the way to the United States, and I could link up all these points a lot like a constellation in the sky. You're just kind of linking these things up, and it grew and grew. Originally, it was a short trip, but then it grew to now it's 100 countries. It's 10 years, and I've set aside and the tangent, like the side benefit that has become a primary benefit, has been this whole video thing. So doing the events and accomplishing those check marks on the bucket list are very important. But the fact that I can make a video every day, I can share it on YouTube, and everybody, everybody that's watching this and everybody else in the world that might have an internet connection can now, through my eyes, perceive the world the way that I am perceiving it, or the way I'm trying to perceive it. And so, originally it was more or less me wanting to, because my memory is horrible, and I was worried that if I did do this epic journey and I couldn't remember it, what a shame that would be, all of these experiences would go away, and even if you did remember it, try shuffling through all those memories in your brain. It'd be too much to cope with, So that was for me. But on a side benefit, all of these people become inspired by watching them, and I can earn an income from it, which, it's not huge right now, but it has the potential to sustain my journey and create this cycle, which is I have amazing experiences with my amazing life, accomplishing all the things I want to do, and I pay for that by sharing those events via video, which I enjoy doing in itself. So it's not quite there, but it's almost.
It's almost sustainable.
What's that called? What's that machine called? The self? No. What's that? Where they say that no one's ever been able to design the machine that can power itself.
Oh, yeah.
What's that? Yeah. There's a name for it. I can't remember. You know what I'm talking about?
I think so. Something like with rates that it keeps going. It keeps going. Yeah. Wow.
So once I can do that, I'm good to go. So I'm working on it right now. You're talking to me right now. I'm in Taiwan, on the East Coast, cycling up the East Coast of Taiwan, checking Taiwan off my list. And I'm trying to decide if I should stay in this city another day, because I'm way behind on videos. Every day I decide what I want to do.
That's the thing. I've got the same, we've got pretty a similar lifestyle in that, we make our videos while traveling, and it's hard, it's tough to find time and focus to, make all those videos, line them up. And then I don't know how many videos you did today, but it's two. Right.
The big ones. I've got 4 more waiting, and I have a vlogger one-on-one I need to edit tomorrow. We should do a vlogger one-on-one one of these days when I see you.
We are going to meet up. That's the thing. I'm going to Australia very soon, actually. The 20th of September already is my flight ticket. And I'll be stationed in Perth for a little while. And I think that's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah.
So, I'll be in your part of the world. So your route, I don't know if you explained the route. It's going right now. It's going to Taiwan and then back to China, and then you plan to move downwards, right?
Yep, I went from China. My plan is to China, the United States. That's
right.
That's obviously the destination, but in between there's 100 countries. So I'm not doing a straight line. I'm not even rushing to the United States. This is this is a lifestyle, not a tour, really. It's not even I'm trying to get to the United States. I'm trying to be a.
It's about the journey. It's not about the end destination. It's about the journey. Right.
So from Taiwan, I've already done China, Korea, Japan. I've been to North Korea even, but that was not on the tour. Then I'll be back. I'll go back from Taiwan to China, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Australia, and New Zealand. That's the first boom. And then from New Zealand,
long time.
that's a huge tour in itself, But once I get from New Zealand and finish New Zealand, then I'm going to go all the way up to Norway, not flying, like cycling.
Yeah,
And then
like
from
through
Norway,
Asia.
I think we're going to go up back. I think to Palau, then Malaysia, maybe Brunei. I was looking at a tour of some guys. Hello Bike World was riding through Brunei.
Yeah, I follow them too. Yeah, those are great guys. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
So, and lots. And then from Norway to Cape Town to South America to Los Angeles.
Right. Easy. Peanuts. Wow, it's so cool, man. And that's like, I just came up with this question because you were talking about home, like being like Detroit, Michigan. It's where you're from. You know, it's where you were born. And it's kind of like what I'm trying right here. Like I am right now back home. But for me, home feels, it's weird. I don't feel at home. I don't know what you feel, because you've also not lived at home, you know, a big part of your life. Like the last 10 years you've lived in China.
Yeah.
What do you call home?
See that glass behind me? That's the lobby of the Travelers Inn Hotel in Tai Tong. That's my home right now. I have a home base in Ningbo, China, which is probably more home than my home in my hometown of Detroit. I have homes all over the place, you know. As a traveler, you start out, I guess it's a weird progression, because as a traveler, oftentimes you start out feeling like a tourist, right? I mean, that's the progression. You start as a tourist, and as a tourist, home is where you were born. You know, home is where your house is.
Where your work is, you know. Yeah.
Right. You're traveling as a pastime or an activity.
As a visitor.
You know? Right. But then you moved, maybe go abroad for the first time. And when you go abroad for the first time, that's when you first adopt the idea that a place outside of your hometown can be your home, you know. And that can be inside your country or wherever. I mean, I moved to Fort Lauderdale. I lived there for a few years on a yacht, and then I lived in Las Vegas for 5 years, and Las Vegas became my home, and that yacht was my home. And then I moved abroad. I went to China, and I was in China for a long time, and China became my home, which is a really weird thing.
Yeah,
you know, a place that doesn't speak English, a place that like even where you are. I mean, you and I look similar. You know, I'm not Polish in my blood too. So we're very similar, like physical people, and English is kind of more of a common language. But if you're in China, you're an outlier. You know what I mean? So you're a strange character. You know. So that's an even more outrageous way to live abroad. And then I took the big leap. And I remember as a traveler, it was funny. I went to Korea the first time. Like that was my first cycle tour journey, like to another country outside of China. Because China at that point in time was like my home. I was very comfortable to travel there.
Right.
Before I started my tour, I was already comfortable with China. But then I went to Korea, and I remember getting off on the boat in Korea, and I took the ferry because this is my trike, you know, and I took the ferry because flying with this thing's a pain in the ass. So I got off the boat. I remember the feeling. I'm holding onto the rail of the ferry. I just traveled across I don't know what that is, the strait or the body of water between China and Korea. Yeah, whatever. It's not like the Pacific Ocean, but yeah, it's the other side. And so I had just done this big journey. I had an hour and a half, or more than an hour and a half. It was like a 10-hour journey or so. It was like a long journey. And I was thinking about, geez, I hope I can get a phone card. I hope I can, I hope the language, because I couldn't speak any Korean. I hope I have everything. I hope I can ride this thing on the roads. I hope it's safe to ride. All these things spinning around my head. Korea was not my home. You know what I mean?
Right.
But the second that I arrived, the trike rolled off the ramp of the boat opens up, and you're rolling off the ramp, and you're in Korea. You're in it. I mean, you're in it. There's no choice. You've got to figure it out.
Right.
And it was probably a couple of days, and then suddenly Korea was my home. You know what I mean? And so, and then I went to Japan, and it might have taken me a week to get accustomed to Korea. It took me a couple of days to get accustomed to Japan. And then I came to Taiwan. It takes me a couple of hours. And then, you know, it's like learning an instrument or working out or whatever.
It's like a muscle. It's like you train something to yeah.
So feeling like comfortable in a place enough to call it home is something that improves with repetition. A lot of people are too afraid to, like, they would have gotten off the boat in Korea, gone underwater, and they would have been struggling.
Yeah.
And you know people like that.
Where's the McDonald's?
Oh my God, where's, you know, I can't eat that food. I can't do this. I'm so afraid. I'm not, you know, what side of the road do they drive on here? Oh, it's the same, but I don't know, you know, and you freak out. And so many people freak out. I've met them. I know them. Expats that came to China that gave up. People that think that China's shit because they didn't give it a chance. They didn't welcome it in. So they left that wall up the whole time, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, it takes time to, you know, to disassemble that wall to feel comfortable and call everywhere that you go home. So, anyways, it's a long roundabout.
Yeah, but that's something you learn. I think once you go, like, do you have any tips for people that may be debating going like for a year or something? Like for me as well, like I'm going to go to Australia, and country I've never even been on the southern half of the earth, you know, like it's something completely new to me. And like I'm gonna, you know, that's my plan, is to open up. Like I think that is something that you should do if you go to a new place, instead of trying to wall yourself down and just go for the things that you're comfortable with.
Well, I mean, you're not a unique case. I mean, everybody is faced with big decisions to make, you know. But one thing I always like to think about, it's a technique I use to cope with these sorts of feelings. I knew, for example, that when I moved to China, I was going to be afraid. I knew I was going to be afraid. I knew I was going to be lonely. I knew I was going to be unprepared. I knew I was going to face some adversity. I knew that I was going to be uncomfortable. And it's like if you break up with somebody. Now, I don't know how many relationships you've had, but I've had a few. And you know, if you break up with somebody who you felt a real connection with, or let's say you have a death in the family, somebody you really care about, or let's say you have a big decision to make that's going to potentially could do two things. It could be a good thing, but it could be a really bad thing, right? You're facing something that's coming at you that causes you great anxiety and fear, right? We all have them, and they could be all these number of things. I just think of it as a relationship, because I get emotionally invested. Everybody, that's what a relationship is. Like, you're getting emotionally invested into another human being. And when the relationship comes to an end, it's like being thrown into a vat of boiling water. You know what I mean? But the thing that gets me through it, and the thing that, like I said, you can apply this to everything. I did it with China or whatever. When I went to China, I said, I'm going to stay here 5 years. When I have broken up with somebody, I have said, what are you going to be like 2 years from now? When I've decided to quit a job, or I've gotten fired, or, you know, one of the dozen shitty things that's happened to me, hundreds of dozens, thousands, whatever, you know, we all have horrible things. You have to look. I always get through them by looking beyond the way I'm feeling at the moment. You know what I mean? Like I have real bouts of depression. I think most creative people do. Most people in general do. Like, am I worth it? I'm worthless. I hate it. Look where I am. I have no self-control. The world's collapsing around me. I don't know what I'm going to do. Some people do this. Some people go into a dark place. Some people, you know, and going into a dark place isn't such a bad thing. We got to allow ourselves to grieve or worry or things like this. But what I'm saying is, what helps me get through a lot of these things is thinking, like, my dad always told me put on somebody else's shoes, right? Like if you're trying to empathize with somebody, you put on their shoes. The asshole that cut you off on the road, you want to yell at him so bad, but put on his shoes. Is he a miserable human being? Maybe he's going through some shit. Who knows, right? But you can also put on your own shoes, but a different you, a you 5 years from now. You know what I mean? Like Tice, put on the Tice shoes a year or 6 months or whatever that is in Australia. Is he worrying about the move? Is he saying it was a bad thing? Is he concerned about all the shit that you're concerned about right now? No.
Probably not.
Absolutely. No, not probably. 100% no. I mean, you're going to have a whole new set of things that you might be worrying about, one. Or two, you might be so freaking happy that you decided to go. And that is probably more true than option number A. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're gonna have a whole new perspective on life. You're gonna have all these new things, and you're gonna think back. You might think back and remember the way that you felt, and you were like, "Damn, I was overreacting. I was so worried about nothing. It was hard. I know." Just like me, 5 years in China. The first 2 years, brutal. Just like I knew they were gonna be. They were stressful. I was struggling. I didn't have any friends. I didn't know Chinese. I was lonely. I was angry. I was frustrated. I thought I should turn around. And go back. But then I think to myself, I said, I gave myself 5 years, Matt. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Says you got to get through the 5 years. And you know what? After that 2 year bubble, after that 2 year bump, maybe it was even a year and a half. Whoa! Life is. This life right now that I'm living is because I decided to move to China, because I suffered for those 2 years, because I had all that bullshit that I went through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like any apprehension that you're having about making a move, making a decision, you're going on a trip, you're going on a tour, you're going on this, you're getting a new job, or you just got fired, or whatever, you can apply all of these things to thinking forward and putting yourself into the shoes of the man you will become or the woman you will become. And thinking to yourself, does this really matter? Does that girl that I was so in love with and so crazy about, no offense to any of my ex-girlfriends, does she really matter? You know what I mean? A lot of my ex-girlfriends I'm good friends with. Most of my girlfriends, ex-girlfriends I'm good friends with. But I'm saying that, you know, we get into these moments of fear and darkness and anxiety, and these are all temporary things. You know what I mean? And if you've got a good head on your shoulders, you can get through it. My sister passed away a couple of years ago. She had the opposite view that I have. She was, the world is always out to get her. It's always going to take her down. And the world did end up consuming her, and she passed away. But that's a story I'd be very interested to share, actually, because I think it's a very important story. It probably applies to a lot of people out there, because there's different people in the world. There's people like, I think you and me are very similar. You're a little bit younger. I've been through the ups and downs a bit more than you, so I've learned some lessons you're going to learn. But you know, some people don't learn those lessons, and I feel sorry for those people. You know. Yeah. Anyways, was that a good answer to the question?
Oh wow, man, that's like full like life advice for me, and I think also for the viewers. Like, thank you for that.
Yeah, no worries.
About a question about that, like, because you moved to China, like, do you see a difference in mindsets between, you could say, Westerners and Chinese people or Asia in general? Do you see a difference in mindset and view on maybe what you do, for example, like how you approach life?
Well, I couldn't. You know, I'm doing something really weird. You know, I'm doing something really weird in all countries. Maybe it would be a scale of grading between, and in the United States, people on the West Coast might not feel what I'm doing is so crazy, but people in Middle America might think what I'm doing is crazy. Might not be able to identify with it. Just like people in Shanghai might have a different view of what I'm doing from the people in rural China. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I do think that in Asia, wow, there's a dog walking across the street. and it's got a set of cojones on it. Must have a sickness. Big balls.
Oh,
Big balls.
God.
Sorry, I couldn't stop the poor thing.
Oh,
Anyways, back on track. So, what the hell was I saying? Okay. So, in America, there's much less responsibility with regards to doing what your parents tell you to do. Now, every country, everywhere, there's a certain responsibility you have to your elders, and if there's pressure from your parents and things like this. My parents, both of them, I was really blessed with parents that allowed me to spread my wings.
That's a big deal for me too. Yeah.
But also part of it is the fact that I was pretty stubborn, and I never let anybody dictate to me, so they never did. I think maybe my dad would have probably liked to have passed me the family business. He probably would have liked all these things, but he knew looking at me that it just wasn't in the cards for me. So he gave me the freedom to say, "No, Dad, I'm not. No, I'm going to be going off and doing my own weird thing." And he supported me with it. I was lucky in that. But in Asia, you're asking me about how people perceive what I'm doing here. It's weird because I've been to South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and China. I've lived in China the most. And it's a very interesting sliding scale. In China, the commitment to family is like overriding. You stay here. You maybe marry. Who we want you to marry. There's a lot of people that are. Do you hear that music?
Yeah, I do. What's that?
That's the garbage trucks in Taiwan.
Oh my gosh.
They had a real big problem in the past with people leaving their garbage out on the street curb, and the garbage companies couldn't pick it up in time. There was a really, really big problem all over Taiwan with regards to trash. So they made a new rule. No trash ever on the curb. You never put your trash out on the curb. Instead, and it's normally two trucks. The first truck is a typical garbage truck with the back compressor, and it's followed by a box truck. And what a box truck is, like a moving van, with a big box on the back.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You see it? Did you see it?
Oh, is it a yellow car? I can see yellow car. Yeah.
I don't see the other truck behind it, but so the one truck will go, plays the music. Everybody knows the music, and when the music plays, you better run out there and catch the truck, and then you physically throw your garbage into the back of the garbage truck. And
that's what I find fascinating about Asia. Like I've been there once, very short in Beijing, but it's very interesting.
And they will fine you if you don't if you leave it's like thousands of NT, which is not a lot, but maybe $100, something like that. US.
Okay. Wow.
Anyways, back to the story. So in China, you're obligated to do what your parents tell you to do, and so I remember telling people in China what I'm doing, and their perception of that was, okay, so this was the Chinese perception. What are you doing? I'm cycling around the world, traveling for X number of years, and I'm riding from China to America. I couldn't do that. I'd really like to do that, but social pressures and obligations prevent me from doing that, so it's not possible for me. I hate when people say, it's not possible. It's like everything's possible. You can quit your job. You could drop off the map tomorrow and forget your family and just disappear if you wanted to. Anything is possible,
Right. Yeah.
Anyways. So that's the Chinese view. Korea, what was the Korea perception was, you go to Korea and you say, I'm traveling around the world. I'm going from China to the United States for 10 years. This is going to be my life. They would say, it sounds okay, but again, the social pressures and things. But there was a less like it was kind of like I watch that kind of stuff on TV. I don't need to necessarily do it myself, but it is very cool, you know. But it's not me. It's not for me. And then Japan was all the way on the other spectrum. So like Korea was sort of in the middle. Japan was, I'm traveling around the world from China to the United States for 10 years. I don't want to do that.
How?
So you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want to do that. A social, it's kind of neat, but I don't want to do that. So you know, like China was like, I'd really like to do that, but I can't socially. Korea was sort of in the middle, and then Japan was this kind of like
they don't.
I wouldn't want to do that. Good on you. You can do it, but I'm not. They never really thought it was interesting. They thought, wow, that's cool what you're doing, but it was not something that they even felt like. They never even asked themselves the question, wow, I wonder why I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like it was never even in there.
Never in their mind. You did meet a few cyclists in Japan, but most of them were from other countries, right?
Yeah, I mean, I met a tricyclist out of Seoul, or that was Seoul.
That was
Japan.
Korea.
That was Korea. Did I meet a cyclist a tricyclist in Japan? Tricycle. What a weird word that is. Anyways, tricycle. No. Yeah. Well, I call it a three-wheeled bicycle, a three-wheeled bike. I don't know. Trike is better than tricycle. Tricycle.
Yeah, trike. I like that. Yeah.
So there's social pressure in Asia in general. Most people can't perceive doing something like this unless they've already done it. Like I've met a lot of travelers like you and different people that have already taken those steps to kind of live a lifestyle that's different from your friends aren't living like you, right, Tice?
No.
I mean,
that's why I'm trying to find people that are doing this, because around me, like nobody, like there are people that try to understand it, but they expect me to come back in like 1 or 2 years to pick up a study and go for a job. You know, that's a lot of people still think that I'm going to do that. And for me, like right now, at least it's not in it for me. Like that's not what I want to do. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, thanks for answering that. That's, I came up with.
Does that make sense? Am I answering your? I tend to go off on tangents like doggy balls.
No, it's like good.
That, so.
It's great. Yeah, no, it's fun. No, it's really cool to have. It's sort of like a conversation, but then instead of stuff.
Kid's crying. Got tears in his eyes.
Oh wow! Like
okay,
joy or?
No, I think probably he's been crying for some reason.
Okay. Oh yeah. Anyways, yeah, that's what I wanted to ask, because right now you're sitting on your trike. Maybe you could, like, I don't know, for the people that are watching it on YouTube, like show maybe like what it maybe some people that don't even really like get what a trike is like.
Well, this is a trike. I pedal it in the front, so this is where I do all the action. It's not electrified. A lot of people, especially here in China, they all want to say. Dian is electric, you know. Dian. Is there a battery on that thing? No, Dian. No electricity. I said, 自己走, which means I self propel, you know. But it's a trike. I've got my panniers in the back. So this is my camping pannier, and then I have my clothing pannier on the other side. On top here is my laptop and my backpack, go bag I call it. It's basically the bag that I can pull out at the end of a long ride, and it has one change of clothes, my toiletries, and all the cables and plugs to power and use my laptop. So, because for me, most travelers, cycle tourists, their primary motivation isn't to make videos. Their primary motivation is to cycle from A to B. And I have committed myself to balancing going A to B against making a video every day. So it's quite it's hard. So balancing that and having the ability to pull my bag out if I get to a coffee shop or whatever is really important. Otherwise, it's 2 wheels in the front, 1 in the back underneath that bag back there. I've got an interesting. This is the way you turn. So I've got these, kind of cool wrist rests. So I just set my wrist down and I can just sort of relax. Riding a trike is a lot easier than I wouldn't say easier. I'd say it's more comfortable than riding a bicycle for sure. If you're going uphill, maybe your bike is a little bit more. Well, it depends on the grade of the uphill. If you're going on a steady climb of maybe 4 or 5 degrees, I think maybe your bike would be better because you put a little lower gear and you could lift your ass out of the seat and you could use your body to press down on the pedals.
Yeah, I did a lot, especially on the.
I don't have that luxury. If you're really steep to the point where you have to get off, do you have to get off your bike? Have you
never done that? No, until like I think maybe even 20%. That's pushing it.
20%. That's great. 20%. The most I've ever been on this was 22%. Literally, I was pedaling up, and every time I stopped, my bike would start moving backwards.
Oh man!
So I don't know, man. I don't know if you could go 20%.
No.
That's pretty steep.
Well, no. Let's say 15. Yeah, 15.
15 is a solid. You know, but at the certain point where a normal cyclist would have to get off their bike, I don't have to.
No, because it doesn't make a difference, right? Like if pushing or sitting in there and cycling doesn't make a difference.
To be honest, if I had to push this thing, it would be a real friggin' pain in the ass.
Yeah.
I think I was at a Buddhist temple once that I was spending the night at, and there was like it must have been like a 25 or 30% incline. It was a short hill that I had to get up to get to the place where people stayed. And at that point in time, I had to hold. I couldn't. It was impossible to pedal. I mean, it was nobody could have pedaled up that, no matter what, you know. So it was almost like lifting. I had to lift the trike.
Yeah. Well, I've had some of those roads in Ukraine. I've had some of that craziness. Like one tip for if you go to Ukraine, stick to the main roads. Like don't go on any of the weird like ways there because you get yourself in trouble. Like. I had a point where I had to carry my bike, but I cannot. I see you lifting up. Maybe I'm weak, like my upper body's really weak, but I can't think of.
You've seen me lift this thing, right? You saw that when I was in Korea.
Yeah, you had to lift over like barriers and stuff, and that.
Bike barriers.
Yeah, that's another thing I'm curious about because it's wider than a normal bike. Have you had like? Yeah, well, that's one of the situations where you've had it that your trike did not fit, like, or on the cycle lane or on the main road, that you're kind of like in that in between.
Not too often. It was just basically that one time in Korea. I have had a couple of moments where, like just recently, I was cycling in Sun Moon Lake, and remember I was in the rain. It was pouring rain, and I got to the end of that trail, and they had that huge staircase that went up. And I was like, oh shit, am I gonna have to carry this thing? I mean, it was like 100 flights of stairs. I mean, it was so high up that I lost. It was lost in the rain. It was couldn't see the end.
Oh my god.
And I mean, I gotta weigh this whole rig. I weighed it a while back, but I gotta weigh it again. I know the trike itself is 30 kilos, not 30, okay. 30 pounds. 30 pounds. It's heavy. 30 kilos.
Pounds, like 30 kilos is a lot. Like my bike's 11. But I think that's
okay. 15. So maybe I am 30 kilos. I'm like 3 bikes heavy.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's an aluminum frame. It's a lot of bike. I'm gonna have to look it up, but it's really heavy. I know that my first ride kit, the heaviest I ever rode was 500 pounds. It was like 200 some kilos was the whole ride setup. So. Yeah, you're a little bit of a scrawny fella, so you might need to put some meat on your bones to lift this big guy.
Yeah, I've got to train. Like my lower body's great. Like my legs, they work.
Yeah, me too.
Like, it's bad.
That's one of the problems with the trike because even you on your bike get a more comprehensive full body workout than I do on the trike because my ass is literally planted in the seat. I'm pressing against the back of the seat. My shoulders, my arms, my hands, my neck, all of that does not get any workout. Whereas on a bicycle, you're kind of you're doing a lot of.
Yeah,
there's some upper body, you know, right?
A very small amount. I think it's more like really like keeping that same posture of your
ability.
Like sometimes I do this. This is a tray, but it's not. It's nothing like.
You know what I've been doing? I've been riding because. My core, I can't really work out. By the time I get to a hotel, I'm like, Pardon my French. I'm sorry. Can I do that?
I think so.
I cannot do all that other stuff like push-ups and pull-ups and all that. So what I've been doing is while I'm riding, I've been rolling my stomach. You know what I'm talking about? Where you roll it like you roll it. You're rolling your abs like you're doing that.
Right.
Because that's actually try and roll your stomach for about 10 minutes. Just do it for 10 minutes. Trust me, it's like doing like 50 or 60 sit-ups, it's something. But it is kind of weird when you pull up to a stoplight and you're like rolling your stomach. Somebody's like, the hell is this guy doing? It's hilarious. I've gotten some weird looks. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's not just doing that, but like the whole like thing, like with
the whole thing, and he's rolling his.
And he's
dude. There's something wrong with this. Actually, that's the other thing riding this trike. A lot of people think I'm either mentally or physically disabled because a lot of people have some sort of maybe what is that, like a paralysis or something?
Paralysis,
They can hand bikes are the same style as this. There's a lot of trikes that are kind of built the same way, but more for the purpose of people with disabilities. So a lot of people default to thinking that I have a disability, which is a double-edged sword. In some ways, it's really good because it provides me an extra layer of kindness from strangers. But in another way, people think I'm disabled. I'm not necessarily disabled.
That's not. So. Yeah, right. Not necessarily. Right.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. What do you say? Anyway.
I don't know. You said it.
I know.
Anyway. Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, that's really like. I don't like here in Holland, like this is a bicycle country, but even trikes here are pretty rare. Like, and you see some people like, you have a lot of people with, there's like an institution here with people that have the syndrome of Down, and they all have these tricycles that they're still sitting up. Yeah, it's kind of like here.
Are they typical trikes with the one in the front and the two in the back, or are they tadpole?
No, that's exactly that. And then they're sitting upright. Like the electric bike here is so on the rise, like it's insane. Like everybody here, like all the markets, they all sell only electric, which is kind of like.
Did you hear my interview with Sabina where she was talking about how the bicycle industry in the world and the bicycle industry in Taiwan? You might find that interesting. Look back in that.
Through it, yeah.
Yeah. She talks about how, because Taiwan, one of the themes I'm trying to express while I'm in Taiwan is the manufacturer and how your bike was made, because Taiwan makes most of the bike components on most bicycles.
Right.
Most. I'm not saying that every bike brand is made in Taiwan, but most of the components, all of the Giant bicycles, which is the largest bicycle brand in the world, I think, and Merrill, and not Merrill, not Merrill. What's the other? Merida is, they're all MERDA. They're all made here. That's a huge bike brand. It's like one of the biggest in the world. And so I wanted to kind of show people how bikes were made. And I met this girl, Sabina, and she was talking about how, how she's a female entrepreneur, started up her own bike brand here in Taiwan. And it was a very interesting conversation. She worked for Giant, and she talked about how the entire industry is shifting electric. So mountain bikes, road bikes, all of those things are taking second chair to e-bikes. Which is sort of depressing and sort of cool.
I mean,
a double-edged thing.
Yeah. I'm not down for it either because, and I think we both have the same opinion about this, that when we like long-term travel, like when your battery's empty, you've got to carry it with you all the way until you find like.
I've got a lot of people tell me I should convert to electric, and I can't say it's not tempting. I mean, the idea of. Have you ridden the pedal tech system, Tice?
No. Well, I've once sat on top of an electric bike, but it's
no, not an electric bike. You should try a pedal tech system next time. It's basically you pedal, and then it provides you a little boost to the pedaling. So you still pedal. Okay. It just helps you get up to about 20 or 25 kilometers an hour, and then it pulls back, and then you're pedaling from that moment on. So it'll just kind of. It's much more sustainable. The battery life goes a lot longer. It's not like an e-bike where it's constantly drawing power. You can set it too, like, give me a little boost on the startup. Get me up to 10 kilometers an hour. Get me up to 15 kilometers an hour. I'll tell you what, the first time you do it, you're going to be like, wow, this is really nice. But again, you have the issue of carrying a battery around. There's extra components. You've got this electrical thing that you've got to worry about. What if this thing dies on me? What if, what if I'm stranded? And then suddenly I've got all this extra shit I got to deal with. You know what I mean? So, but on the other side, if you've got a car and you're spewing, gasoline and everything everywhere, and you got a 4-seater, and you've got all this extra room that you're wasting, and you want to downgrade to an e-bike, I think that's more power to you. You're helping out the whole world. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's a huge bonus. So for all of us.
Right. Yeah, that's a big thing. Yeah, especially for like bringing that car culture down. I mean, for me, like I'm used to Holland. I'm a bit spoiled here, but I've seen some places that really have that, and I noticed that you also talked about it in what someone asked you, like, what country are you most scared for, and you mentioned the US because of our culture that's there, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I grew up in Detroit, where if you didn't have a car, you're kind of an asshole, like you're a traitor. So there's a certain responsibility you have to support the auto industry in America, because it's such a big thing there, and distances between points in America are fairly long. So if you go into the grocery store, in a lot of cases, you might have to drive a distance. You want to go to the mall, you're driving a distance. Whereas like Asia, there's little shops everywhere. You're walking distance everywhere. I think that's similar to Europe too,
I mean, I think not as much as Asia, but still, like, the grocery store is like, what would it be? Like maybe a kilometer away from here, and it's all like it's compact. And the roads, I mean, the roads are designed. Most of the roads before the car was a big thing here. And in Holland, we have this thing that in the 70s people started to fight for, because the car was coming up here too. We were almost converting to America in terms of car culture, but then these people stood up because some children were being hit by cars, that sort of stuff. And that's why the government made all these bike paths, and that's how we came to be.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think you're gonna like Holland, like for triking.
I think I'm gonna like it too. I don't know when I'm gonna get here. Everybody keeps asking me, when are you gonna get here? When are you gonna get here?
Oh yeah.
I have no idea, man. No clue. I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow.
Look at it by the day. Yeah, exactly.
I'm trying to decide whether I need to stay here or not. This place.
That's I think more important for now.
Right.
Anyways, I wanted to segue to a different topic. I've got it right here. Because you also have the Vlogger One-on-One series, and I wanted to ask you, because you're very how would you say that? Like bold with vlogging in front of other people, and a lot of people, including me, it's a big to like put your camera in front of like other people filming, but you seem to do that effortless. Like it's easy for you. And I mean, like, do you hit any people that are like skeptic about it or not liking it?
I'm trying to think of a good analogy. When you ever been sold something by a really good salesman, and then you walked away from the sale, you bought X, Y, or Z, and you felt like, wow, that was effortless. That guy sold me so good. He was happy, he made a sale, you were happy, you bought what you wanted. Have you ever been in a situation like that? I think most people have, probably unwittingly, been in those situations. You know what I mean?
It could be, yeah.
Because I've been a salesman too, and that's one of the reasons why I can go up to people and talk to people the way I do, is because I've been told no millions of times. I've been thought I was a jerk millions of times. I've overstepped my bounds millions of times. I have become sort of a my own, like I'm sort of a psychologist in a lot of ways. I analyze people, because I've had so many experiences with people, so many different people. I know how certain people are going to react. It's like that guy that can go to the bar and pick up any girl, right? We've all known those guys. What are you doing? Well, how do you do that? He's done it so many times. He knows what the girl might want to hear. He knows how to treat that person, whether it's a girl or a guy, or it was shit. There were times when I started, it was really, really nerve-wracking for me to go up to people and talk to them. But just like anything, the first time you pick up a violin, it sounds like shit. But after the 5,000th hour of practice, you can play Bach. You can play, what's a good violin? Chopin? I don't know. Whatever. You can play fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's the same in everything. It's the same in your interactions with people. It's the same in dating. It's the same in a business. It's the same in making videos. I've made 1,000 videos today.
Mm-hmm.
On my channel, the vlogs and everything else is over 1,000 videos.
Wow.
But even today, there's somebody messaged me today on a video today that said my audio on my music is so overbearing that it's drowning out my voice, and he's having to adjust up and down. Have you noticed that on any of my videos? Like the music is too loud?
I mean, oh, you mean like the difference between your music and your voice?
And my voice.
No, not really. Like, to be honest,
It's because you listen to it on a laptop and I edit on these earphones. But when you play it on like a surround sound system, I've done it before and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm making these mistakes, But it's hard balancing. You should try and listen to some of your stuff on a really, really good sound system. Maybe you'll hear those inconsistencies. But I'm just saying that we're always learning, right? There's always, and that's an openness you have to be to the process of learning too. Like, you can't. Most people, if I could have very easily quit after making my first video because it was total dog shit, then I'd never be where I am today. If you never went up to that first girl in the bar and got that, heck, go away from me, then you wouldn't have been married to that perfect woman. If you didn't, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different things. If you didn't, and so you have to put yourself out there and record and talk to people and talk to people and talk to people. I've talked to so many people so many times that somebody could walk by right now. I could strike up a conversation with them right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't see anybody prove that theory because there's nobody walking by. But you know what I mean? So I have become so comfortable with it that it's not a big deal to me. And it wasn't always that way. So, and you're, how old are you? 20?
19.
Hey. I was going to say 20 something. So
a lot of people say that actually. They think I'm like 26. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Yeah.
You told me that too. My memory. I told you I'm sorry, but it's just I wonder if I was where I was at when I was 19. I was probably, because you are an assertive person, but you haven't had the experience. It's all about experience. You know what I mean? Like you have to grind that stone down. You have to, whatever analogy you want to use, you gotta work it, man. And you gotta keep working it. You can't quit. Just practice makes perfect.
Yeah, right. So did your attitude change over the years that you attempted and re-attempted your tour?
Okay. You know what we could do? We could answer a few questions more, and then we could do this again and do a part 2. If you wanted to later.
Oh yeah,
I'd be up for that. Revisit, because these questions are interesting, and I'm kind of interested in answering them too. So, but I don't want to answer them burnt out. You know what I mean? So
okay, yeah.
But I'm not burnt out. I'm just saying you should leave all this in here. By the way, hi everybody.
Oh, I will.
So just leave it long form. Don't edit. Just let it go. I think people would really appreciate.
That's just behind the mic, like that's my thing. Like with this podcast, I want to do just long term because I think that with long term, also for me, like this is going beyond my comfort zone. Everything that we've been talking about, like practice things that you're scared of.
Yeah.
I think you can get a lot out of it just leaving it like the way it is. I think you can like really
for sure.
So
I'll
add it a little bit, but it's gonna be a long one. It's gonna be an hour.
I would leave this conversation in there. You know what I mean? Okay. I think that's cool. I think people would value the idea that we're discussing how to do the videos. I think so. My 2 cents. If you leave it in, That was me that left it in there. I got him to convince him.
Yeah, you convinced me. Okay.
So you're saying after I got run over by a truck, tore my meniscus, had all of these delays and trials and tribulations, how had my perspective on the tour changed or lessened or strengthened, is what you're saying?
Yeah, what have you learned? How has your approach to it changed? Or that.
Well, I was riding in 2014, right, when I had the accident? Or was it 2015?
It was started in August.
November 11th, 2014, because I remember it was singles day. In China, it's 1-1-1-1 single.
Right. That you get like on AliExpress, you get like the big reduction and the big thing going on.
Yeah, you get a big sales day. It's where you go out to the bar. And, anyways, I was alone on the road, cycling towards Guilin in a city called Guangning, and I was run over by a gentleman driving a big box truck. Destroyed the first trike I had. This is the second one. And sent my tour, which was intending for me to cycle to Mount Everest, into disarray. So I had a shattered clavicle. My shoulder was all messed up. My trike was busted, and I flew to Frankfurt, Germany to build the darn thing. And I had a lot invested in just simply getting everything together. At the time, I had a trailer. I had way more camera gear. I had an Aru, a musical instrument that I carried with me. I had all sorts of stuff. And it was all basically and literally spread in the middle of the street in Guangning, after I was at the accident. Now, very easily, I could have said, you know what, this is too dangerous. This is not smart. Why am I doing this? But, I had that same conversation when I decided to move to China. Man, Matt, this is not smart. You're very comfortable in America. Why would you move to China? It was a conversation I had when I decided to quit firefighting and move out and live on a yacht in the Caribbean. Matt, you're working as a firefighter. It's a good career. You shouldn't do that. It was the same decision I made when I decided to quit university. I was studying biochemistry, minoring in Chinese, and I decided to be a firefighter. And I said, no, Matt, you don't want to quit, So, how many of these moments, and after every one, the decision I ended up making was something that, who knows if it's right or wrong, right? Because nobody knows if a decision right or wrong. You only live one life. It's not like you can go take a time machine, try and decide a different one and say, wow, my life would have been better that way. But I'm happy with who this guy is. Mm-hmm. So I must have made a pretty good decision along the way in each of those circumstances. So I'm lying in the road. I'm thinking, you saw the video. I was running the cameras, when I was laying in the street.
I've seen that video like 10 times probably. Yeah, it's...
I decided the moment I was hit, what did I say? I said, this is just a temporary thing. I'm going to get back on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was what I had said the moment I was on the ground, So did it strengthen my resolve? I don't think so. My resolve has always been pretty strong. Did it shake my resolve? Maybe for a millisecond. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say, I thought getting hit by a car was a crazy thing to have happen. And it set me back for sure. But, you know what else it did? Is it gave me an opportunity to improve. I take every step back as a forced or enforced break. You know what I mean? Like, okay, all right. How am I going to make the trike better on trike number 2? How am I going to improve my gear setup? Do I need to readjust my path? How do I interact with people? What do I need to do in order to make the next time a little bit better? And hell, I got back on the road. I was more comfortable. It was almost like I talk about how it was sort of like a test run. I think that first attempt was like 3.5 months or something. And, it wasn't the 5 years I had originally intended by any stretch, but it was an interesting time to dip my toe in the water. I would have allowed myself to cancel the trip at that one moment, and I would have been okay with it. If I would have said to myself, okay, you know what, this really wasn't for me. Like I thought this cycling tour thing would have been amazing, and but maybe it was like 100% different, or maybe I was lying to myself about what I really enjoyed in life. I would have probably allowed myself to say, okay, let's take this accident as a sign from God, and I'll just do something else, right? Because I had left huge opportunities back in Ningbo, China. I could have been a TV celebrity there. I had my trading company was taking off successful. I gave up a lot. If I was in Ningbo today, continuing on the trajectory I had in Ningbo before I did this tour, I'd probably be making 7 figures US.
Oh, wow.
I would have been doing TV gigs all over China. I could have probably, and I'm not trying to toot my horn, but these things were in motion. These things were, I was meeting with politicians and things like this inside the media environment in Ningbo and around, and I had some really big capabilities. So laying in that road, I could have said, okay, you know what? Call it a mulligan, and I'll go back to my life in China. It kind of runs counter to what we've been discussing about how I gave myself 5 years, and you got to set long goals for yourself. You got to get through the rough points. Yeah, I realize I'm sort of talking out of one side of my mouth and saying something out of the other, but I'm just being honest. It would have been allowed at that one moment in time had I had a all-encompassing epiphany that this was not the path that I wanted to be on, right? Like I would have allowed myself a chance, because one thing I also think is we have to follow our heart, right? We got to follow our gut. Like,
of course.
I like for example, when I was in China and I was sad and lonely and depressed and all this stuff, I knew China was where I wanted to be. It just hadn't worked out yet. You know what I mean? But if I would have been in China, I just needed more time. But if I was in China and I don't know what circumstances I would have had in order for me to totally give up China. But I'm sure everybody has a limit and a moment that they might need to reconsider if they really think they're going on the wrong life path. You know what I mean? Like I think you're more than confident. Like for example, you want to go to Australia, and you were talking to me about that life decision, and I don't think you should give yourself much leeway, is what I'm saying. But there is probably a certain extent where you should say, is this the right move for me, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Because you don't want to go down the wrong road, but you want to go down the road long enough to realize you're on the right one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Right. You don't want to give up in the first moments, but you also don't want to give up too late, maybe.
Or you don't want to stay in something that in your heart of hearts is wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you have to know in your heart of hearts. That's why I said I didn't give up. I was running my truck. I had all these opportunities in China, and I said, fuck it. I'm going to get a new trike, and I'm going to get back on the road. You know what I mean? So
you knew it. I knew it.
Because I knew it deep in my heart. But there could have been an opportunity there if life would have been different, and maybe my heart would have been different, that I could have been like, this might be the reason that I need to stop and retract from this tour. But it wasn't. Do you see what I'm saying? I guess everybody's different, I mean, I've worked 65 jobs in my life. 65 jobs. I've folded clothes. I've mended boat tops. I've mowed lawns on the highway, like industrial lawnmowers. I've done everything. I've quit a lot of those jobs because I knew in my heart of hearts they weren't right for me. Because I also knew that I was destined for bigger things. Like, for example, I have my business, my entrepreneurship, my trip to China, my tour around the world. all of these things overrode anything else. So my jobs, those were mild examples of quitting when you know it's not right. When you know it's not right. So, you don't have to stick to everything, but you got to stick to what counts. You know what I mean? So, that's all I'm saying.
Well, thanks again for that advice.
I kind of went around. I hope that was good advice.
Well, you know what it is? I hope that it got recorded because your voice wasn't dropping out, but the video was dropping out a couple times. So I was a bit.
Oh, jeez. I hope so. I was on a roll, man.
You were so now it's back. It's so weird. Oh man. No, I think we're.
Oh, well, you'll find out.
Oh man, this is so good. Yeah, I think we're gonna leave it with this for part 1, as you said. We might do part 2.
Hey guys, everybody out there watching, do you want a part 2 or what?
Oh yeah,
let everybody decide.
Leave it down below. I've been talking to Bicycle Touring Pro as well. He currently doesn't have much time, but I want to bring him on as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting. So I have some more questions, but those will be coming up in the next one, I think. Because,
awesome. Yeah.
We'll wrap this one up. So thank you so much, Matt, for being a part of this podcast and also being a part of my life, because that's what you are. And I'm grateful for that. Thank you, really.
Listen, everybody out there, if you like Tice's little interview here, you have any opportunities to give some questions or suggestions, put them in the comment section.
Yeah.
Hit the like, subscribe, share, hit that little notification bell so that you can get notified anytime he has a new video, and give some suggestions on other people, if you know them, that you might be able to connect him with so that he can interview some really special people in the future.
Exactly. Right. I don't even need to do work here. You can just...
Trust me, I know the whole thing.
No, man, it's been great fun, man. Thank you so much. Subscribe to JaYoe as well if you haven't already.
Better do that.
Better do that. Really. But anyways,
peace.
See you later, man. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take it easy. Bye.
Bye.